News that the Brussels terrorists originally had their eye on a nuclear power plant is raising serious questions this morning about the safety of our nuclear sites here in the United States. In 2014, the Daily Caller exposed how easy it is to enter the Calvert Cliffs nuclear plant in Maryland, that's right outside Washington, without ever coming into contact with any security of any kind. How dangerous is a situation like this? Can it be fixed? Should we worry about it? Joining me now, the coordinator for the Nuclear Proliferation Prevention Project, the NPPP, and a professor at the LBJ School of Public Affairs at the University of Texas, Alan Kuperman. Alan, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So a couple of years ago, two Daily Caller reporters went to the Calvert Cliffs nuclear plant, and it really is right outside Washington, under an hour away. Drove right through, were not stopped at any time by security, filmed the building pretty obviously, and then left. That raised concerns, I think, among normal people that maybe our nuclear sites aren't as protected as they ought to be. Do you share those concerns?
Yeah, we issued a report a couple of years ago that highlighted the fact that nuclear power reactors are not protected adequately against ground attack, such as you're talking about. They're not protected adequately against waterborne attack. Many of these reactors have inlets on bodies of water, and you can just ride a boat right up to that inlet and cut off the water, and that could lead to a meltdown of the nuclear reactor. They're also not protected against airplane attacks, such as happened on 9/11. So our reactors are vulnerable to that sort of attack, and also facilities that have bomb-grade nuclear material are also not adequately protected.
Boy, I want to put up a full screen here to give our viewers a sense of the scale of the potential risk here. There are 61 active nuclear plants in the United States, a total of 99 reactor plants operating across 30 states. If you and I were to compose a list of sites that are vulnerable to terrorism and that we really wanted to protect above all, you'd think that nuclear power plants would be at the very top of that list. So what does it say about all the other potential sites? If they're not adequately protected, what about everything else?
Yeah, what we say in the report was that any facility that could lead to a catastrophic disaster needs to be protected against a maximum credible threat. For example, the kind of attack that occurred on 9/11. And you would assume that our facilities are protected against that sort of threat, but they're not. And the reason is that the industry says it would be too expensive to protect against that sort of attack, so it's the responsibility of the government to do it. But in reality, the government isn't doing it either. So if the industry isn't protecting the facility and the government isn't protecting the facility, then who's protecting the facility? And the answer is no one.
Meanwhile, my full-size tube of toothpaste is deemed a threat to national security at the TSA line. It seems to me you don't need to go even overboard. Maybe just putting security guards outside a nuclear plant might be helpful. That wasn't the case at Calvert Cliffs when my reporters went there. There was nobody in the security booth. I mean, how hard is that? That's just basic, isn't it?
Well, these sorts of facilities have an outer perimeter and then they have an inner perimeter, and it's unfortunate that the outer perimeter isn't guarded, but generally the inner perimeter is guarded. But a lot of the times the inner perimeter may be too small.
Yes.
So that if an attacker could get that close, they could launch some sort of explosive projectile that might be able to induce a catastrophic accident, a meltdown.
Exactly.
And then you have a release of radiation, such as occurred at Chernobyl or at Fukushima. That would be a disaster.
Well, it would be.
And then you have the...
Yeah. It would paralyze the population, too, and that is kind of the point. Alan Kuperman, you haven't made me feel better, but I'm glad you came on this morning to give us a sense of this risk. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.